Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. Welcome to the Daily Medicine transmission for December 2nd, 2021. So thank you for your patience if you were waiting for the stream. It feels like it's just been this way all week. Little roadblocks and detours and lack of stability and in terms of scheduling. So thank you. I overslept. And I'm curious how people are feeling in their energy levels, because I can also tell that my cats are really feeling the repression or the weight. And some other people have reported some other similar things. It kind of feels like we're being wrapped in a cocoon, or we've just been burning away so much, or having so much burned away right now, and so much that is erupting or combusting right in front of us that it can just really be a lot. And so I know that I obviously needed sleep. So, and then my dad's back in the hospital. I'm just explaining to you now why everything seems to be so out of sync or out of phase. My dad's back in the hospital. I'm watching their house again, right? So I have all these extra responsibilities, but time is in some ways an illusion. Not that it doesn't exist. That's not what an illusion is. It's just not what we think it is, or we're looking in a different direction than what is actually playing out. So you remember that if you've seen Harry Potter and you've read the books, there's a moment where Hermione says, terrible things happen to wizards who meddle with time, Harry. And it's only really meant to be used in the most dire circumstances. And I feel like that's relevant somehow. I don't know exactly. I have some thoughts and opinions about that, but just in terms of time, it's more about aligning with the time wave and being part of it rather than doing anything with it. So anyway, that's a total non sequitur, but that was just what was on my mind. So welcome to the Daily Medicine transmission. We are going to go over the intuitive reading that came out in my meditation today, and then we'll go over the astrology for today. So it does feel like an extension of yesterday, right? December is going to be like one long, terrible day or one long ride on a roller coaster that if we were not prepared to either ride or be on, then I think it might be very terrifying. Some people have opted to just get off the roller coaster. Some people are like, I know where I'm at and I'm in it for the thrill and the ride, and I don't identify myself with this ride. That's a Bill Hicks bit, by the way, if you're into comedy or Bill Hicks. He definitely referenced how life is a ride, and then when you're done, you get off. So at a soul level. So however you decide to interface with what is going on, I think we can all agree at some level here that we are about to go down the first real hill of this dumpster fire roller coaster. And even for the most prepared, or even for the most grounded and secure, we're going to find that things will present themselves that we had missed, right? As a result of perhaps our attention being directed in other places. So we're all subject to that, and it's important to remember that. So how is everyone feeling? Neptune is stationed now. It feels like things are amplifying, things are getting intense. There has been a lot of buzz about the Omicron and a lot of digs into what that really means at a occult level and the symbolism. So I thought I'd talk about that because it came up on a social media post and I was asked to speak about it. And I've just been kind of sitting back. I haven't been making any clarifications or declarations or even saying anything about it because I kind of wanted to just sit back and watch, right? And see what it is. We knew that something was going to drop around this time. It's eclipse season. And everybody had their own way. So I have been listening to other people and reading things that have to do with this and at an occult level, a symbolic level, right? How we go through the whole Greek alphabet with all of these variants, whatever they mean. And perhaps reading into things in a way that's not necessarily accurate or even relevant. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure, but I have done a little bit of a dig, like about 15 seconds. But it did lead to other things that I already knew about astrologically. So I'm going to share that with you right now, and then we'll get into the transmission for today's daily medicine. So welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to be part of your own evolutionary process in whatever way makes sense to you. And I'm just here to teach you the language and share my process with it, rather than to give you give you a bypass for figuring out for yourself, right? It's so much of what we experience right now is being curated for us. It continues to be so, or at least the attempt is there, on a consciousness level, right? Our attention and where it goes in a digital sense, and the information that we work with, and also at an astral level and an energetic level, because that's still information, and that's part of being in the fourth density, is being able to function as an autonomous sovereign being in the realm of ideas, right? The realm of energetic reality as opposed to physical reality. So it's not easy, and this is why we have to do this work. We have to do the work that allows us to be completely functional in that density. And it's very easy to be it's very easy, and it may have been part of something like our genetic memory, our DNA memory for so long, to have, some essences or entities, or even just information encoded in our genetics to come with us, that keeps us locked into self-preservation mode. And this goes into a lot of stuff about entity attachments and potential ways of presenting false imagery, false light, and not actually encouraging and supporting the natural ascension process of humanity. So much of it is being curated. It's unbelievable. And I think many of us that have been at least awake to the surface level of this for a long time are starting to acknowledge the next level. And it's important that we just allow ourselves to learn from our own defeat, right? Whatever that is, the foolishness that we've talked about this week with the transmission so far. I'm definitely feeling it, and it takes it takes some humility, and it also takes some real leadership within ourselves to know when we've been bested and to learn from that. And actually, Venus, strangely enough, is in a position today in Capricorn that represents just that. So it might come to us today in our relationships, our resources, right? Resources are a big issue right now. Big issue in so many ways. I found out today in Pennsylvania, my local electric company, as of December 1st, all of their rates are going up by 20% for electric and power. I'm sure gas is going to skyrocket any minute now where I'm at. And I know other parts of the world and the country are going through a very sudden, and for some people seemingly like, oh, what? I thought that this was going to be cleared up. No, but we knew that, right? We knew that because we're in the eclipse portal right now, and it's going to take some time for things to reach their fruition in terms of our own personal growth. So it's just going to get so much hotter and so much more crazy and painful in some ways. So we really need to find our compassion. We talked about that yesterday too. So Omicron, might as well talk about it. And you can do your own research. That's the whole point. Start connecting the dots for yourself, coming to your own conclusions, use your own intuitive process that has been, as much as you can, that has not been infiltrated yet, or learn what that feels like. That's okay. If we have something that's been attached to us, or unintentionally brought it into our awareness, or it's just been hitching a ride for a long time. This is about ancestral karma too. And this is very much the overlap of Atlantis. Let's be very clear here about what's going on. And understanding within our own experience where that went wrong or where that went sideways, because there's a pretty consistent and clear mythological structure, if you want to call that, or historical record across multiple cultures and spiritual disciplines, that this much more advanced civilization on the planet existed, and as a result of that advancement also was destroyed in some way, or was not necessarily able to fend off the disaster, right? No matter how technologically advanced, there was nothing that could be done to mitigate the effect of like a massive cosmological cycle completing, right? That had real devastating effects on the planet. Either way, we know that this is folded back over right now into our awareness. And so in order to really be able to move past this, we have to bring those same experiences into our actual incarnated experiences right now. And so there is just a lot of just crazy shit coming to awareness that you're like, what? But that's part of it. And the more that we can see that as not only the observer and the witness, but also to learn from that situation, and to be like, you put your big kid pants on by going, oh, that was messed up. I messed that up. We messed that up. Okay, we better do something different. That's the mark of leadership and sustainability for something that is, whether we like it or not, is going away, right? The Pluto through Capricorn is a pretty final word on things. So, Omicron. Omicron. Okay, so this is what I'll tell you. It's the 15th letter in the Greek alphabet, okay? 1 and 5, that is a 6, right? 6 is how related to materialism, carbon, right? There are 6 electrons in carbon. It makes it incredibly 6, or is it 4? Damn. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That detail can be addressed later. The point is that carbon and the number 6 are intimately connected in terms of physical material reality and being the basis of the physical world here on this planet. So also 15 is the muse from yesterday. It's the devil card from yesterday. So again, these connections being made. The Omicron is also represents the number 70 in the Hebrew alphabet as well. So the number 7 and 70, anything with a 7 has that quincunx nature, that divine intervention. And the 7 was definitely a very strong number in certainly the Hebrew tradition, and in Judaism in general, is being related to God. And isn't there 7 letters in the word Yahweh? I think. Maybe there's only 6. No, I bet you there's 7. So there's the 15th letter of the Greek alphabet is Omicron, okay? And Omicron is 2, it's a big 0 and a little 0. And in Phoenician, right? The Phoenician language, right? Which we can connect back into like Mesopotamia and Sumeria and Babylon, and our roots as this current civilization is the word Omicron stems from the Phoenician word ayin, or ein, A-I-N. I should have a graphic to show you, but maybe it'll just stimulate your own research around it so you can look for it yourself. But ein in fixed star astrology and constellations is the name of a star. And Ein, A-I-N, is the right eye of the bull of Taurus, okay? It is the eye. Omicron as the letter represents the eye of Taurus, right? And Taurus meaning the second house in astrology, the objective physical world, the fertile soil, right? The material reality that we are part of and makes up our experience, right? As a subjective being in this process. So Omicron is applied to all kinds of different other terms to designate it as the 15th of something. So you're going to have it connected to lots of different fixed stars out there in constellations. Omicron in and of itself, though, is related to the eye, right? The big eye and then the little eye. So when you look at the letter itself, there's a big, like I said, a big circle and a little circle. And that is what Omicron is. And so Ein, as the right eye of the bull in Taurus, is within a degree of Aldebaran. Aldebaran is the fixed star in the Hyades star cluster. So Hyades star seeds, this is very related to you, this particular star that Omicron ultimately is connected to, the Greek letter Omicron. So Aldebaran is connected to Archangel Michael and is an exact opposition to Antares. So the Omicron variant dropping as, the sun is passing Antares, Mercury is passing Antares, right? While Archangel Michael is in conjunction with this star, the right eye of the bull. So whatever this means, there's plenty occult symbolism to dig on here. And I do feel like whether or not obviously it's intentional, but what really strikes me is the idea that it's almost asserting those groups who identify with this eye, right? They are asserting their knowing, they're asserting their knowledge, but at the same time, it also feels to me that really what it is this is going to be the point. This is going to be the point where the eye opens, right? Omicron is where we get to see, and it's only going to come through the burn of Antares, right? And Archangel Uriel. So the fire of God is what comes through with Antares and destroys everything. Michael, as a figure, as an archetypal figure, the archangel, has the flaming sword. So there's success through integrity with the eye open. So whatever, but it comes from this tension with the heart of the scorpion. So regardless of whose intention it was to name it this variant and what their intention was, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about it, and I think it's nobody really truly knows except for the people who may have, the people who've maybe even named it. Maybe they're just literally just going through the system. But I would say that there is something related to the eye opening and being able to see exactly what's happening and the burn that comes from it. And the only way to really get through the process of what Omicron is going to release in terms of knowing and knowledge and experience to the world, because it's going to be, it's not like the others. I think that we are certainly in for an eye-opening experience, but we also are, this is where letting it burn really comes into view here, right? Letting it burn and realizing that when you are connected to your highest, to God, which is, interesting that it is the eye of the bull, right? The oh my. There's a lot going on here. So, but I would say that letting it burn and not getting caught up in the vision of what you're seeing necessarily, but staying connected to yourself and your highest integrity is going to be probably the most successful way to move through this time. And being so honest with yourself and realizing where you've been led astray. We have been led astray, being real with ourselves, admitting where we've been foolish, right? Admitting when we've allowed self-preservation and greed and need for power because we feel disempowered to allow us to be deceived and to have our experience curated. That's the thing, even for the best intentions, to still be like, well, they can't figure it out, so we're just gonna gently take it along. Is a psyop still okay if it's a psyop to take care of the masses? I don't know. That's a question we should all be asking ourselves right now. So let's get into, that's my little spiel about Omicron. So let's get into the transmission. I have the bowl with me. We're going to really ground ourselves right now. So I'm checking in with the chat. I can tell you firsthand, I'm being used as a pressure valve. Well, unfortunately, Emily, that's a big part of what you're here to do. But the fact that it's you is just like, I know how powerful you are. Welcome back to the fold, despite all the wrinkles in time. By the way, we can see your cursor moving around. Glad to have you back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You were right. Would being used be part of Neptune going direct, do you think? All mushed together without boundaries. Only if you are not already a mystical wizard right now, right? Because the tendency is to go back and not go back, but the tendency here is to easily be used. I agree with that. And addiction, right? To be part of this controlled demolition, and to be infused with propaganda, to be infused or to be engaged with, people, all kinds of stuff, right? This is the real realm of Pisces in terms of being capable of handling what it means to be a spiritual master, I guess, right? This is why, in terms of our own history and our own religions, there aren't very many human beings that have managed to. In fact, we all, as far as I know, the only human incarnate, well, there's Buddha, right? Siddhartha, and then there is Jesus, in terms of humans that have reached this level. So it takes this level of mastery, and people are going to get swept away. There's no doubt about it. So maybe that's what about the mush together without boundaries, is that people will be swept away. People won't know the difference between themselves and what is being shown to them or given to them. Thankfully, we do have Saturn. If we if we can just take the take the grown-up perspective here just for a moment about seeing people as people and not the screens that we project our ideals onto, it's really going to assist us in this process. Although yesterday with the moon in a square to Saturn, that was not, we really did, the nostalgia of where we've come from may have been a strong feeling that would keep us from just facing reality, really, about like, oh, damn, people are just people. We're all just people, and we're all responding to these situations in our own people way, and we're being influenced, no doubt. And so Neptune stationing direct, I think that being used is, that almost goes without saying. And then you become a martyr, or you feel like a victim. That's the other problem with all this Pisces energy. But also too, to be inspired, and to really be inspired by compassion for each other and yourself, and what your ancestors have gone through, and what other people have experienced that have led them to maybe making very bad decisions or to be used. This is why addiction is in the 12th house in Pisces, right? Because people aren't going to be able to really handle this transition right now. And so I think that that also goes along with it. So I want to take a minute here. I'll bring up the reading. I'm glad you guys can see the cursor. Being able to teach this and really show what I'm experiencing and translating it is all the Sag nature, right? So I want to be able to, it's not just me to hear myself talk, although that does help to be able to talk for hours. It does help, but it's not exactly why I'm here doing this. Okay, here's the reading, and I'm gonna minimize this here, and then I'm gonna bring the bowl out, and we can take a moment here to receive this. So I spent a lot of time preparing to receive this message when I go into it. So everybody get grounded here. Put your feet on the floor, your butt on the floor, whatever you need to do that will give you the added sensation of being grounded, and allow your body to relax and sink down into the floor, sinking all the way down past the surface into the mycelial network of the planetary energetic grid. Everybody's Earth star connecting to this place and anchoring you, nourishing you, keeping you steady. I'm going to take a deep breath in and out. All right, guys. Whew. Okay, here we go. I hate to bring this card out after we just like grounded and aligned ourselves, but here we are, the Prince of Wands as our causal factor, the storm of the mind. I think that if you remember last week at Thanksgiving time when the moon was moving from Cancer to Leo to Virgo, this is the movement from Cancer to Leo right here, the Prince of Wands. It's the storm of the mind. I think that we really did feel into like a strong devotion and almost purpose of what we were heading towards with our fire and our voice and our expression, and really standing in our own sovereign power. We have the lion as the head of this chariot here. We have flames everywhere. The staff has a bird head, so we know that the prince references the air and the mental faculty. This is truly the storm of the mind, and I think many of us have been this way for a while. And with the nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius, these two things together, I think, would really culminate nicely into where we've been propelled from and where we're headed. And it's the fire that's really pushing the prince forward to act on all of the thoughts and ideas and concepts that are just really rapidly moving through, getting the blood flowing up to the brain, right? This is the Prince of Wands. So the hot storm filled with action, and it's very willful and impulsive, and we want it now, right? So I think that a lot of where we've been, and especially last week, this came out pretty strongly within each of us, right? Within each of us, that moon in Leo, I think we all had a moment where we were like, it is about me. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. And it's not to say that that's good or bad. We know that the fifth house in Leo is really about where, the passion that moves us can lead to confidence or, completely narcissistic. So, and when we put it into practice is why, this is why I feel that Draco and Thuban is so well placed in the sign of Virgo, because that's where we actually take the desire and the combustion of our passion and the Kundalini, right? The serpent medicine that moves through us in us, and when our passion is ignited or when something releases that, it's in Virgo that we actually make a decision of how we're going to train that energy. So it's kind of, Virgo is where it makes or breaks you as a human being, honestly. And so I feel like the Draco energy is a very distinct dichotomy of that, right? You either master it and you are able to heal and do good for the world, or you let it master you and then you find yourself acting out of rage, impulse, sexual, a lot of sexually destructive behavior can come through there as well. And also psychosis, all of the things that happen when when this Draco energy is misused as the result of maybe not having a strong root system. And that goes back to Cancer. So anyway, here's our Prince of Wands. Delays may provoke outbursts too. But this also really represents a lot of courage and tenacity. And, even though things can move so quickly that the storms of our own impulsiveness maybe left, we don't even realize the damage that we've done. Oh. The damage that we've done in the past. This is a perfect time right now. Perfect time to let that just burn away. And remember, Archangel Uriel let people in, a small group of people in on the when and where and why of the fire. If it was already determined that they could handle the information and it would not corrupt them. And I think that we're all getting a lesson in this right now, in terms of what we've allowed into our sphere. And So we move forward here to the Hermit. Oh, reversed. But the Hermit's reversed. This is number 9. This is the Virgo card. Speaking of Virgo and fixed star Thuban and the Draco energy and the energy of Christ too. I mean, very much, and Mary Magdalene, like it is being able to bring these two aspects together into union, that the Virgo energy can be fully expressed because you're gestating, right? It is, and it's going under the surface. It's really acquiring the resources needed in the fertile soil to help the seed grow, the fruit grow. So when we do this spiritually, or well, I'll say spiritually, and within our own work on ourselves, we can be very humbled here because we go into the darkness of ourselves and we're willing to face it because what we bring from it is light, and we bring light back out. So in the card, you see the cosmic egg with the serpent wrapped around. You see the Virgo elements of the wheat, right? Surrounding the Hermit, the 3-headed dog Cerberus that guards the entry to Hades, right? Kind of nipping at, one's looking back, but the other two are definitely looking forward. And they don't seem that ominous, but they definitely seem like present. So there is this undertaking, right, into this realm, and then you have this little spermatozoid here, and light coming from all, a direction that's not necessarily, we don't see where this light's coming from, but we see where the rest of it is coming from, which is the lantern that the Hermit holds as a result of going in and doing the work within, right? And this is why retiring from the outside world and introversion and connecting to the high priestess energy within is how you actually make changes to yourself and recondition yourself, purify and discipline yourself. So when it's reversed, I mean, a lot of times this is either like totally running away or isolating, or you're alone and you don't want to be and you feel bitter about it or lonely. But honestly, I feel, because it also represents Saturn in Aquarius, that this is just a very disappointing retreat. Some people are going to bury their heads in the sand. Some people are going to, slink away and hide themselves, hiding from oneself and others. I have written here. That's funny. Avoiding the retreat because it's too hard to be silent. But I don't think there's any avoiding it. I think that we're all going to be kind of pushed into reconsidering ourselves and what is the result of this storm of the mind that we've either participated in, if acted on, or what have we left in our wake of destruction. And maybe we're just bearing witness to it as well, which is, even if we're experiencing it firsthand, we can still cultivate that position of the observer so that we can see it from our highest self and use that perspective to then guide our next steps or have intuition about what to do. But ultimately, what I find here, especially where Saturn is in Aquarius, especially, which is just tucking the tail, or being a very mature individual that's just like, okay, it's really time to actually go within and start really assessing myself and what's going on, and how I fit into all of it, and how I've participated potentially. Now, like I said, some people are just going to slink away. Some people are going to run away. Some people are going to avoid as a result of this. But we really, either way, here's the world. And in the Rider-Waite deck, this is the Judgment card. It's the very last card of the deck. And again, it represents Saturn. It's the end of the line here in terms of the physical nature or the material matrix. So we'll get there because I want to talk about where we are energetically. That's really going to assist us. It's all about the feminine right now. It's all about the reception and the feminine and the compassion and wisdom and compassion, right? The Queen of Scrolls at the bottom of our awareness, but this is where we're rooted, or we can be rooted energetically. Maybe this is where, maybe there is a person or a guide or just this part of ourselves that really is trying to give us access to real wisdom, right? And deepen our understanding. But we have to actually see it for what it is. We have to acknowledge that it's there. We have to accept it. This is part of receiving. And she's not going to come looking for you, right? She is there in this really kind of beauty setting, right? Didn't we talk about Neptune stationing direct? The fog of war is going to get thicker, and, it might blow in right now and kind of obscure this figure, but in our subconscious, and if we've mastered the Pisces realm, we are that will allow for us to either pierce through the fog, not even have to see with our visual equipment, right? But feel, right? Feel. And that's through emotions, or not even emotions. It's literally feelings. Emotions can be tricky, right? Emotions are something that are a biochemical response to stimulation. How we feel is much more connected to our energetic body. They're definitely overlapping, but they're not the same thing in my work and study and my experiences. So, and I know other people have said that too, and I'd agree with that. So, but we have to be able to address this, so it could come in all kinds of forms, especially because it's a court card. So we really can look for maybe an actual femininely presented guide, a part of ourselves, or somebody in our actual life that is involved with communication and involved with knowledge and wisdom as well. So this is something where we can really root ourselves into, because there is deep knowledge and wisdom that we have access to, but we have to be able to see it for what it is. And also there is a softening here. But this is totally different energy than this Prince of Wands, which is just like, I'm going to burn it all down in the wake of me, just like the storm of the mind. There could be a lot of arguments and trickery and just intensity. There's nothing about this here. This is calm. This is timeless, right? This is very beautiful and relaxing to look at her. And she's got the third eye bindi that's literally glowing, right? And she's just got this look on her face that's just like, I have, it's right here, you just have to approach. So I think this is really very important message, especially because we have the Queen of Keys also surrounding it, and the honeybee, which is about compassion and forgiveness. There's divine feminine energy written all over where we can find our core and grounding. The waterfall, though, Six of Forces, there's our six. The intensity of our emotions and our feelings and our psychic, the flow of that energy through us is very powerful, but when it's reversed, it feels equally disempowering. So I do get the sense that there's the disempowering feeling or a sense of something being wrong or being disrupted. And it's because, where the storm of the mind, the Prince of Wands just charging through without any regard to anything else around it, because it feels completely in the right. There's the moon in Leo. It's all about me. I know what it means to be who I am, and I'm going to express that no matter what. And that wasn't just last week. This has been a long time coming. But when we then move into the stage of the hermit and have to be like, okay, we have to actually put this into a practice, something that is nuts and bolts about it, something that is material, that will lead to something that nourishes and sustains us, like food for the soul, perhaps. I think that the slinking away, the turning away, the running away, the avoidance, right? Or just the kind of the best case scenario here is realizing it and feeling that sense of defeat, but having the maturity with Venus and Capricorn to be like, this is what it means. I have to actually turn away now, even though I don't want to, and go back in. And really cultivate the compassion and the forgiveness for yourself, other people, and soften things, right? Soften the gaze, soften your body. But it's difficult when the attention right now is on the disempowering aspect, because here is the flow of the waterfall. When gravity is working with water, you don't have to even do anything. It'll shape the landscape around you. But, and that's important. because we see how much it's important for clearing things away and how much the song is essential to our well-being. So, but it's the turning of this, or the disempowerment, or something that seems to be disempowering us right now, that is the focus. And either way you look at it, even if you realize that there is this turning of the power, or there is a disempowering feeling going on, the judgment is here, right? Here's 21, right? So you add 21 up and you get 3, or you also get 7 times 3. So all these cool numerological things. Here's Saturn right here with the universe, and you see it's a woman, right? It's a woman with a snake coiled. Oh, there's the eye. That is, here's your Omicron right here, okay? Shining through this snake. What is she holding? I never quite, sorry, I'm moving away from the microphone. What is she holding? I can't quite tell. I'm going to have to look at that more. But the world is the end of the line here. So the judgment card, of course, in the official or the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck. But these reference obviously Saturn, but also 2 other things, which is Neptune as our cosmic consciousness, and Pluto, which is really the central power of creation through destruction. Like, there is no creation at a 3rd dimensional level. And even, I would argue, 3rd and 4th density, honestly, without some sort of harvest. You don't get new growth and creation without having to harvest it and start the cycle over. So, and you need to be able to, fertilize with what, you have to, it's interesting that it's, through that process that feeds the soil and makes it fertile. I just put in new compost that I've been cooking for like a year. I finally put into the garden beds and, mulched it and everything, and, to get the soil quality good for the next planting. And that's what Pluto does. So when we can think about it that way, it doesn't make it suck any less. It just allows us to see the bigger picture. But this is the crown and the end. This is what the world means in the tarot. And it's the zenith of development, right? Eternity and completion. And it can really symbolize a harmony between our body and spirit, because it all comes full circle. There is that 10 of discs again, coming full circle in a material way. And so we can accept this and realize our role within it. And there's just a lot of, you can even see here, look, there's water shooting out of all of these figures in the corners. And there's an egg and another eye and an eye. I mean, we are really at a point now where we're going to reach a zenith. And with Pluto involved, I would say that, the coming of not only the solar eclipse that's going to be in Sagittarius, I would say that the Pluto return in the United States that'll be coming in the future months and we'll be vacillating back and forth over is a big part of this too. The end and the beginning, right? They're inseparable, and the eye at the top is seeing all of it, or is watching over all of it. I don't know. It depends on how you look at that. But there's definitely an element of completion. There's an element of this serpent, again, coiled, an egg in some ways, like coming open. There is the beginning and the end, and our cosmic consciousness is a big part of the water. So in some ways, Neptune in Pisces, if you are prepared and accept the very narrow pathway of illumination, whatever that means to you, in the realm of the full, dissolving into the full experience, then if you find yourself really able to stand with the other masters, then in some way, shape, or form, this will be a very powerful time with Neptune moving direct, especially right now. But it's the end. The crowning point is on its way, and how we address that is a lot about what's going on outside of the main cross here. So let's look at that. There's the Queen of Keys. So the Queen of Scrolls is assisted by the Queen of Keys. She's kind of even looking over at her if you look at the positions of these cards. Now, in the deck, she's looking at off in the distance because she knows her man is coming back, the King of Keys. But in some, the fact that she's looking off at the Queen of Scrolls, but the Queen of Scrolls is looking right at us, is significant. And I think that this has a lot to do with trusting and having confidence in the material world that we have, and that when there's real danger, that we will be alerted to act in a way that actually addresses that. Otherwise, there is a sense of confidence and authority, right? Venus in Capricorn, and she knows when she's been bested. And she's looking over at the Queen of Scrolls being like, I'm ready to actually receive the information that you have available and to present to us something way deeper that we can only get by shutting off our noise and shutting off. I mean, you're going to see so many there's so much infighting right now and so many people throwing each other under the bus in terms of like alternative media influencers, that if you continue to rely on those sources like exclusively or first, this is why we really need to like in line with this, right? This is gentle and this is wise, and this is something that is timeless, right? And so the Queen of Keys looking over, like, we can still have confidence and a sense of authority around, our safety and what we do have accumulated as much as we can with Uranus in retrograde in Taurus. But a lot of it too is just about embodying the feminine in general and compassion and forgiveness and keeping that at the forefront of our experience, making it our top priority, right? Let compassion and forgiveness be your top priority in the situation. So the Queen of Keys, as much as maybe she's like, I don't want to admit that maybe I did something wrong or followed bad advice. I am secure enough in what I'm here to do as in a leadership position as a queen to look towards my wisdom keeper. And let compassion and forgiveness be your top priority, right? There's no judgment. There is no shame. There's no guilt. It's just keeping ourselves alive. And again, Neptune and Pisces, it can make it really easy for this. We just have to be mindful of who we're, being compassionate and forgiving of people empathic does not mean that we give ourselves away, or that we excuse people's behavior, or that we allow ourselves to be victims either. So that's the mastery level of this realm. And so, but it starts with the compassion and forgiveness and knowing the difference between what that feels like and what it feels like to have terrible boundaries or to be resentful or feel like a victim. So, compassion and forgiveness. It's interesting that they chose the bee, the hive mind, because the queen is at the center, isn't she, of the hive, and everything else works around that. So, take it for what you will. What we do see here is the whale. Oh, come back. I guess I didn't download the whale. Oh, well, you can see it right here. Here's the humpback whale. And so just making our voice a priority and singing and using the natural vibration of our voice. And to realize that if we feel disempowered, if the natural course of this flow seems blocked or upended in some way, we're going to have to take the initiative to bring it forward through our own vocal cords, right? Through our own means. Chanting and toning is so easy, and is so powerful, right? You don't even have to chant anything. You can just make sounds and just allow your vocal cords to expand and relax and let the vibration come through you, whatever it is. And I can teach you how. It's not that hard. Or you can listen to people playing Tibetan bowls or crystal bowls on like YouTube or something. I would stay away from a lot of there are certain tracks that I would trust, but for the most part, the natural sounds, like your own voice, is going to have anything generated digitally, because we do have to clear something out of the way. And the thing is we have to actually stay focused on it. And it's a material thing, right? I have to clear this obstacle out of the way. And it seems to me that, we have to take the initiative again and find our voice, find our song, find the means to create our own resonance if we feel disempowered by the larger scene here, because we still have work to do. We have to clear this out of the way. And the Queen of Keys is not doing that work, but she is at least saying like, okay, I need to go back and receive more information, deepen my understanding. And this is all, going on at an energetic level in more of the subconscious and the inner life. But in terms of the outer life, while we may be seeing this disempowerment emotionally and some people really giving up possibly, or just kind of losing it, and there's lots of real things that can lead everybody to this place, okay? Real things, restricting people's movement, right? We got to get this shit out of the way, and we have to keep working at it. And it's going to come through our voice, our song, our mastery of resonance. And if we've been relying on the Prince of Wands here to give us, charge through, well, that's all he's done. He's just charged through, and that's important. But we also have to find our empowerment through our feelings and our energy and our resonance, because we need it. We got work to do. We got to clear this obstacle out of the way. So that when we get to the judgment, right, whatever that is, the crowning point, we are the woman in the middle that is handling the snake. We're not, burned down along with it. Although that may be one of the things that people experience. Everybody's going to be different. So we're going to go into the astrology next, just to see how our Scorpio moon is going to really assist us in this process. Wow. Wow. So is anybody else feeling really tired? I'm just curious. Or slept in, or felt like it's not even about being tired. It feels almost like you're being insulated, like in a fire, like a fire blanket. If you've ever used those before, or what those are, those are employed in a lot of different scenarios, but one I know for a fact is like when you are doing any kind of fire movement art, fire dancing, or any of those types of practices, you definitely need a fire blanket around just in case. But it feels almost like that, kind of an insulation, and it could be very heavy, right? I think the heaviness is very palpable right now. So let's open this up. Okay, so today is the 2nd. The moon is still in Scorpio, okay, as you see. So the moon's going to meet Mars today, and let's see. I'm going to close this out. Oh, I never did open my notes for the astrology. Jeez, it's just like, that's just how it is right now. It can only keep track of so many details at the moment. Okay. Let's go back. So how did yesterday end, right? We knew that we had the square with Saturn, right? And right before that, there was that quincunx with Chiron. This is all part of it, right? That we want to fix it. We want to use what we've created with each other to address the very same problem. We want to still stay in the fellowship that we've created over the last 2 years. And the square to Saturn is that, well, what happens when we have to see people for who they really are instead of the idealism that we've projected onto them? Where is our camaraderie now and our sense of fellowship? I think we really felt that, and really questioned some things. So a couple things to look at before we look at the moon's transits throughout this process, or throughout the day, because what we're going to find is, the moon is coming to, like I said, an opposition to Uranus, and then it's going to meet Mars, and come into a square with Jupiter, sextile. It's going to sextile Pluto and Venus as well. So there's plenty, and trine Neptune as well. There's plenty of Moon and Scorpio things to talk about today, because they are taking us back right now to the new moon intentions that we set that began this cycle that is about to end. So we're not only in a moon in Scorpio, we are in a dark moon in Scorpio before an eclipse. Like, this is an ominous, heavy, intense time, no matter how you try to frame it. This is just what it is. So it does feel heavy and intense. And if you've managed to not be able to pull yourself out of the depths of how you feel, this is, boy, oh boy. And so some people end up being that safety valve for other people. And imagine if you weren't able to, some people, what if you didn't do that for them? Let's see what would happen. So, not let's see, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen. So the first thing I want to look at here, there's a couple of things that are obvious. Number one is that now Mercury is at the degree of the eclipse. So Mercury right now is passing the point where the solar eclipse will be in 2 days. So, we're getting some insight mentally. And remember, Mercury's at its detriment in Sagittarius. So I feel like that it's, this is a lot of that Prince of Wands, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot of action behind it, and there's a lot of big picture meaning here that Mercury is working with. But when you get caught up in the fire of it, when you heat up air, it's going to rise, and it's going to move, and really, because heat is going to make the particles and the molecules in the atmosphere move quicker. That's just what heat does. Everything moves faster. So there's going to be movement as well, just like the Prince of Wands. It's moving over the degree of the eclipse right now. Remember, the eclipse is on the ascendant of the United States. I talked about that in the eclipse report, and how this season is completely inextricably linked to the United States in so many different ways. But one of them is that it's on the ascendant of the U.S. So at the time of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So we're already getting a sense here of what this means. And this is a widow's past brought to light. We've talked about this many, many, many times, that this is the realization and the clear view of what is coming into the next cycle with us that has been unresolved or has been stuffed away, and not cleared away, and will have an impact on the next cycle. So we're already starting to get some measure of at least mental awareness of this, at least some meaning of this in a mental capacity. Maybe the ability to really conceptualize the abstraction of this might be a little difficult. Maybe we find that it's a great idea to see these things in meaning, but in mental practice, what we find is that it torches everything, right? So we have that today. We also have, I talked about Venus and Mars, where Mars is at today, where the moon will meet Mars by the end of today. This is giving us a lot of ability right now to take the energy of that safety valve and transubstantiate something that's like a base animal drive. So this is where we really take our Kundalini and transubstantiate it, right? To take that creative energy that gets stimulated in relationship, right? Scorpio, we produce something as a result of this urge to merge together and to get deeper and more and to commune, right? And we take that energy and we actually transubstantiate it. We raise it to a higher frequency, almost, from a base level. So Mars is going to really inject the fuel and the ambition and the drive to actually do it. And so the moon will meet Mars at that point later today. And it will be such a strong emotional connection to propel us it's like finding our voice again and finding it through our feeling. And I know that there will be this sense of disempowerment on some level. And if we can like kind of catapult from here, each of us, and feel the urge to do so, Mars will be kind of like, the kinetic energy that will allow for us to take that disempowered energy that we may feel emotionally, right, or in our feelings, and actually put it through to some use, right, to clear the obstacle out of the way. That's really important today, and I can feel that already building. So when we get to that point in the moon's transits, we'll see what time that's going to come about. The other thing I want to show you, I didn't bring it up in the other chart, is that Juno is also in Capricorn too, and is in a degree that is about, quite simply, is at a degree that has to do with a prophet speaking, right? And it's not so much a prophet speaking, but it's about the ability to be the mouthpiece, to be a prophet for the revelation of a truth that is going to determine where we go next, right? This is early Capricorn. So it's the idea that when you are tapped into natural law and you are part of the matrix that is unfolding or nature unfolding, there are those who are able to then become that mouthpiece. And Juno is, she represents the balancing of the scales of Libra. She is the agent of that in a lot of ways. And sometimes she acts in a way, depending on how she feels and what she's sensitive to in the moment, but it also, it's a closed system. And I do get the sense here that as a result of this revelation or of this transcendent will or this truth coming through, it's going to tip the scales, and there's no coming back from that. And in some ways, it's been like I said, it's been a long time coming. And so with this reference to Juno as well, the other side of things is now being released in order to keep the system balanced. And so maybe that is revealing more than just where we're going, but just revealing the truth. And then that in itself will determine where we're going. Again, a closed system. And people will act in accordance just like Juno did. She did some pretty rough things, because she was pissed that her husband keeps having these hybrids with all of these human women. And so she would do things like try to destroy these hybrids or whatnot. And so, like I said, closed system. And sometimes people will act out of betrayal and revenge and just feeling slighted in order to balance things out. It doesn't have to be that way, but a lot of times that seems to be how she responded to things. Now, let's go back here to the moon opposite Uranus. Oh, it's right there. So this is this morning, the moon opposite Uranus. And I think what we're really struggling with here a lot, and maybe it came out in our dream state, or it's just something that has been building within us, is not only are we pretty much at the point of the new moon that we're still in the cycle of, it is in opposition just like Uranus. So there's kind of like this time loop that we go back to and remember what the intention is that we set. But I think things are a little bit different now, and we're really struggling with what has been presented to us as a hierarchy of communal relationship and cooperation, right? It's the highest levels of the elite all interacting with each other, and the opposition to Uranus is just like, at a higher level here, I know that there are many options about where I can go and what I can have. And when we're feeling into and seeing in our own subconscious in some ways, and it's not very, again, it's a balsamic moon. It is dark. It is dark and it's in Scorpio. And so it's very hard to see things right now. And with Neptune stationing direct, the water is getting more, it's getting stronger, right? The force of it and the tide is getting, it's pulling us out even further as far as I can tell. And when we are sinking down to the bottom and don't even know it, but it's the opposition to Uranus that actually is saving us, I think, from just sinking into this experience of like, no, this is what it is. This is the presentation of how it's all supposed to be organized, and everybody's playing their role so that we can all cooperate together. And Uranus is just like, no. When you open your third eye, you realize that it's whatever you want it to be. You don't have to commit to what you're being presented with, in terms of what all these relationships are supposed to represent. So Uranus, as much as it sucks, is actually just like, hey, every time I impact your resources in some way or what you value in your objective world, then you see like another option. When you don't even settle on anything, ooh, that's a good one. When you don't settle on anything and you're just window shopping realities here, it's really hard to then sink down completely and just accept almost blindly, right? Like you're a zombie or an automaton. It's just like, nope, this is just what it is. This is how it's supposed to be organized. And that doesn't last, because then the moon crosses over the new moon point and we're like, do we go into the lab? I hope so. I really do. I really hope that we did, right? Because this cycle is about to end and the results of that alchemical experimentation are about to start being, revealed, essentially. So when we move, this is, like I said, overnight. The other thing that I want to show you is that Chiron is now in a trine to Vesta. We don't see Vesta on this chart, but she is the flame herself that holds the community together. She is also now coming into conjunction with Antares. So boy, the flame is what's not only holding us together, but it's also... it is holding us together. The heart of the Scorpion is, Scorpio is what holds us together, right? It is the energy between us that drives us to, pulls us together. It's the feeling and it's the intensity of the feeling and the urge to produce something and give our energy to it, which is really a big part of Scorpio, and which is why it's so dark and intense and deep. Because it's all the stuff that's happening below the surface that you don't even realize is actually, directing the course of your actions and your behaviors and even your choices. So when you know this realm, because you went into your own realm with yourself in Virgo, when you know this realm, you have power. So by the time we get to Sagittarius, the meaning of it all is what we act upon. It's what provides the understanding that initiates the alchemical process. So Vesta, as the flame, is in conjunction with the heart of the Scorpion and also in a trine to Chiron. So this is the third trine to Chiron at Antares that we've had in the last week. And so here's this final kind of like simultaneously going to hold us all together, and the meaning of it, and at the same time is going to burn away everything that is not going to, that doesn't belong in this relation, whatever the relationship is, right? Within our relationship to ourselves, to any number of people, and as a society too, like what we're actually producing together. Oh, wow. And, Chiron in Aries, the shame and guilt about who we are just keeps getting triggered constantly, and we keep getting pulled off of our center of what we can create, and that all the potential for who we are lies within us at any given moment. It's just a matter of initiating it or planting the seed. It's kind of hard to plant the seed when Uranus is just like, here, I'm just going to keep shifting the ground and the soil so that you can't even stand up. So... But that also is that instability is leading us to innovate. It's leading us to, be futuristic and to think outside the box about resources. And we see that there are infinite windows to shop at to see what we're doing right now. So, but Vesta's the last that last trine to Chiron. So again, the burning continues. And the moon comes into, let's see here, comes into a trine with Neptune, now direct, right? Everything leading up to this point, Neptune was still retrograde. Now the moon is making this trine while Neptune is going forward now. So we are... this part seems way more outwardly strong in terms of the deluge of experience and emotion and the full immersion in the experience. And the moon is just this kind of dark, subtle, like, do you remember your oath, right? Do you remember do you know what your conscience is really saying? Can you actually get into that space and know what your conscience is really saying? And if you're going to follow that. And so it's kind of this last, like, imprint. It's a reminder, as now Neptune station is direct. And so being able to find ourselves within the full immersion into the experience now is going to be a lot harder. So this is kind of this last little glimmer here under the surface that's like, remember your oath. Remember what what are you aligned with, and what power are you aligned with? And so from there, when the moon then does this, like, back and forth here with Venus, Mars, and then Pluto. First, the moon is in a sextile to Venus, right? The general who accepts defeat gracefully, right? It's the Queen of Keys. It's like, you know what? Like, there's something to be learned from this situation that's going to benefit all of us. And I am going to put my big girl pants on right now and just be like, yes, please. I actually want to re-strategize for all of us by accepting defeat. And that is going to allow for the safety valve in each of us, even more so than anything else in that moment, right? So keep that in mind as we move through the day, because this is later today. And then the moon meets Mars. Remember what I talked about, the transubstantiation of this base drive. There's something very important about this sextile to the moon that we need, right? There's that investment and a reconciliation, right? Somewhere that we learn something and then we're open to new directions. That when the moon meets Mars to actually take that energy and transubstantiate it, boy, we can really this is where we find our own power again, like really. And then we're able to move that obstacle out of the way. And that obstacle has a lot to do with this sextile to Pluto. And it's not even about an obstacle necessarily. It's more that we can adapt very quickly to what is being destroyed / created I would say destroyed for sure, and the groundwork being laid in some ways of what's being created, or the space, that's the right way to phrase it, the space being created right here, with Pluto destroying what has been, right, and creating a space that shows you that it's all energy at the base of it. It's all energy at the base of it. And sometimes it has to all just come tumbling down for us to see that. And there's something important about us being able to swiftly make adjustments and adapt to the environment that is around us very quickly, that will allow us to really find our still and hold ourselves steady in the face of the mask being ripped right off. Like literally, it's like being unplugged from the matrix and waking up in the tank. Okay, so our emotional capacity to be empowered after meeting Mars and being able to make very swift adjustments emotionally and intuitively and psychically and emotionally. I think I already said that. And in our subconscious is going to really be we can really get something out of this investment that's going to allow us to be unplugged from the matrix without too much destruction and trauma. And that's not going to be everybody, that's for sure. And then, as you know, this is right as we turn over into the third. So you know that right after the sextile to Pluto, the moon is going to square Jupiter in the same degree, essentially. So that may be a great investment into the very distinct destructive elements of where we've been and what we've considered reality. But the square here, in terms of adjusting swiftly in the realm of our emotions, the realm of our communal relationships, and in conjunction with the environment, where it's going to find challenge here is Jupiter. That's like, really, you want to, if you really, it's one thing to just adjust yourself emotionally. It's another thing to hold yourself firm and be able to measure all of the energy around you and and solve a problem because of that. Not so much. That's where that square is going to really pop up. And so again, in the dream state, this might become more relevant. It's going to be late tonight, early in the morning here in the States. So it also could, it just depends on what's going on for you at that point. There will be this moment of just like, well, it's not enough to just, it is to a certain extent. You get something out of it to adjust yourself emotionally and personally in the moment as things are changing around you. But the real mastery here of the collective energy and the real advocacy for the Aquarian age that we're coming into it with Jupiter is just like, actually, I'm going to give you all the resources to be able to measure if there's even enough water for this battery to run in the first place, right? And then actually solve a problem by understanding the underlying mechanisms, right? I think that's where the clearing of the way is going to come back up. So from today into tomorrow, I think it'll start to become clear. Not only do we have to take seriously this introversion that maybe we don't want to take or we're trying to avoid, but we need to, because we have to figure out how to clean up our own mess and clear out our own debris. And everybody's going to be at a different place. And I think, again, rooting ourselves in compassion and forgiveness for ourselves, for other people, to soften our edges a little, not to become complacent or to be a punching bag or to have no boundaries, just soften a little bit and receive and be willing to approach a new phase of understanding and deepening of wisdom that maybe is much more to do with all of those divine feminine qualities as opposed to just like the Prince of Wands storm of the mind. It has its place. And you can see that place right now. We're all in it. But what we can do with it is, it really makes a difference. And we have debris to clear away. And we have to find our own resonance and our own voice if we're feeling disempowered in that way. And it'll be easy to feel disempowered because a lot of shit got burned down in people moving too quickly with what they thought was or is the truth. And Venus in Capricorn is just like, okay, I totally concede and gracefully accept my defeat because I know that I'm going to make everything so much better next time around based on what I've learned. That's a very strong Lyran connection, to be honest, now that we're looking at it. Venus in conjunction with one of the stars in the Lyran constellation. So Lyran starseeds, you can be of incredible service right now as a leader, just in any situation you find yourself in, any kind of group situation, your relationships, your larger social networks, anything like that. If you have Lyran starseed connections, especially at this degree, right, in conjunction, you're gonna find that you can really step into this position and be a real good example of what it's like to put your big boy pants on. Or big girl pants, big people pants on, big kid pants. So I'm going to leave it at that. It was quite the transmission. Oh, wow. It does feel heavy. Yes, all this energy is intense, and it is every day. I feel like that was a pretty strong channeling in terms of channeling. It's not something I do. Like, I don't channel other beings necessarily at all. I channel my own higher self. And sometimes I've started channeling a lot easier now that I've had the walk-in experience. So, but it's always been there. So I don't really know what I just talked about necessarily. It was just this total stream of consciousness, but I do feel like it is heavy, that it is very intense, and it's going to just get more so. So we better, be prepared to handle ourselves in the midst of what's going on, and realize that there may not be as many, you may find that what you've relied upon in terms of understanding and wisdom and knowledge may have turned out to just be, oh my God, you remember anybody that has military family, will know this phrase, telling shit from Shinola. I think that that's something that's actually going to be really, really relevant. Or not even that, it's going to start, we're going to start being shown what the difference is between shit and Shinola, and we might smell it, and that might be our first clue that we're like, this isn't actually shiny at all. This is actually just a pile of shit. So, storm of the mind indeed. Yes, indeed. It is the storm of the mind. And it's important that we keep that, I don't want to say under control, but that we are mastering that and not the other way around. So, with all of that said, I'm going to leave this broadcast here. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for supporting this work by subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting. It actually does mean more than you may know unless you are a content creator and you know exactly how much it actually supports the dissemination of the channel to a wider audience. If you want to support this work financially, you can do so through Subscribestar. That link is in the description box below. There's 2 more days to book the Emergence Eclipse reading. That is $99. It's a 90-minute recording of your reading astrologically for the eclipse season. So you can book that by emailing me at catalystenergies@gmail.com. That's in the description box below, or going to the website and checking out my other services, or just sending me a request for that reading through the website. You also can get on my email list through the website as well. And if you want to stay in touch through social media, that's in the description box below. You guys know what to do. It's all there for you. Have a great day, guys. I love you. Take very good care of yourselves. If you feel like you need to sleep or nap or just kind of insulate yourself, just do it. It's okay. I mean, a dark moon in Scorpio right now, as we're about to have a solar eclipse, there's nothing not intense about this. So if this was happening at a different time in history, it would still be intense. But I have a feeling that all of these things are just beautifully intertwined together. We're doing great, okay? We're doing great. So humble and being responsible, and, being kind of a grown-up about things, and realizing that that's how we actually learn and grow. And that's what we're all here to do right now. So I hope everyone is safe and taking care of themselves, and doing what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families and their loved ones right now, and to do what you need to do to keep your head on straight as we're about to, jump through the ring of fire, essentially. So, love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow for the weekly astrology report for the eclipse. Wow, that's going to be pretty intense. So that'll be for all signs. So hopefully you'll join us tomorrow, and have a great day, guys. I'll see you. Bye.